What do you value in your life? What are you committed to? What will you never give up on? Book of the Month author John D. Martini says, like every human being, you act according to your highest values, doing what you believe will provide you with the greatest advantage and reward, and avoiding what you believe will leave you with the greatest disadvantage and risk. Human nature, isn't it? And that's what we're talking about this month is our values. And today we are going to discover whether our values are aligned with our prosperity. As I've been preparing this message this week, I've been paying close attention to my own values around money and where I'm in alignment, maybe where I'm not, where I'm spiritually grounded because God is all there is and God's in our money too, right? It's part of the circulation. So where am I being spiritually in alignment in what I'm saying I want in my finances and what I'm achieving? And when we think about money and talk about money in church, who's already getting nervous and sweaty palms and, oh my gosh, can I get out of here? I got to go. Just calm down. It's going to be okay. I promise. It's going to be okay. What we're going to talk about is linking our value with our finances, with our money, because that's a key ingredient to living more prosperously. And we're going to pull this all together. So hang with me today. Linking this stuff can be some of our most challenging spiritual work because we have a tendency to have this separation with our money and our spirituality. And when we can begin to bring that together with our values and recognize the oneness in the whole system in which we live, then we can let go of some of the frustration and some of the angst that we feel around finance, prosperity, money, wealth, and creativity and doing our thing in the world. If our values, if money, if wealth building is not one of our top values, there can be that disconnect. And our lives are a reflection of our values. All we have to do is look around our lives to see what our values really are. We may say they're this, but when we look at how we're living, we will see what they actually are. Do you value money? Do you value money? And if you do, what do you value about it? What it can buy? Having feelings of security? Investing and watching it grow? Something else? DeMartini says most often people don't understand the difference between financial freedom and spending money. That one kind of stopped me. Financial freedom and spending money. So going back to whether we value money, do you value financial freedom or do you value spending? When you think about money coming into your life, do you think about how you're going to spend that money? Or do you think about how you're going to invest and grow that money? I usually think about how I'm going to spend it. Many of us seek financial, I hear that many of us seek financial freedom. That's why we want money. I want that sense of security of being financially free and not having to worry about it. And the science of mind tells us this is possible, doesn't it? Science of mind says financial freedom is possible. Why does this seem so elusive? Why do I see so many prayer requests for greater abundance, greater flow, greater prosperity? Why is it elusive? Why is it only available to the 1%? What are they doing different? What are they doing different? Notice your thoughts when I say that. That's a clue about what you think about money, prosperity, and wealth. How do you define those things? Would you agree it's important to know our definitions of those things if we're going to live in that realm? They're keys to understanding why we are where we are and whether we're suffering or whether we're a millionaire. We sort of have a comfort zone in our finances. When things get really good, we might pull back, we might overspend. When things get really bad, we're going to increase. We usually have kind of a comfort zone there. But we can break that cycle and move ourselves to living in more financial freedom. If you were here a couple of weeks ago when we started this series, we talked about understanding, defining, unveiling our core values. And if you did that work, you came up with somewhere between 3 and 5 core values. We're going to look at those now today and see where our money is in those core values. And I'm going to guess that nobody included wealth building as a core value. It's usually not, right? It's usually not, unless you're maybe in that business, but it's usually not a core value. Usually our core values are more around creating, more in the realm of creativity. So again, why do we want money if it's not a top value? See where that's a disconnect and can create the frustration. What we're looking at today in our book, if you're following along, is chapter 8. And chapter 8 is all about finance and values. And my favorite piece of it is a section he entitles, "You Are Already a Billionaire." Congratulations. You're already a billionaire. You just may not have converted those assets into financial assets. But we all come with gifts and talents into this world, individually expressed as us. What are we doing with them? If you think about intellectual property, smarts, how much education have you or someone you know purchased, and what have you done with it? How have you converted that intelligence, that knowledge into your economic driver, into money? How many classes and workshops have you taken and not put into practice? How do we use the intellectual property that we have in our minds? How are we converting that intellectual property into cash flow, revenue stream? Many of us have had or have in this moment great ideas. Great ideas. Have you ever packaged and turned them into a saleable product? Turned them into cash? Joe Hammer. Many of us have watched him do this. He packaged and marketed his ideas for the Outcasters Improv Training Company. Had an idea. What were you doing in 2020? Joe was creating a company. He had an idea. It was a divine idea that came through, and he took action on it and created a company. And we get to experience this once a year as part of his outreach program for fundraising for us. And he has other business opportunities that he does in the business world. He teaches people how to use improv in their life. He's giving back. One idea that he took and grew and expanded and converted the idea into cash. Every Sunday, we have an affirmation that we do before our offering. I accept the divine flow of goodness, ideas, and substance through me now. Ideas are the currency of God. Ideas are the currency of God. If you think about the creative process, the very first thing in the top of it is the seed. That's the ideas. That's where it all starts, is with the idea. And then it's what we do with that idea. If I'd have gotten the idea for the outcasters, I wouldn't have done anything with it. Not my thing. But he got it, and look what he's done with it. What are the ideas that are coming to you, and what are you doing with them? That's God's currency. Those are gifts coming to us. What are we doing with them? God operates in the macro, in the universe, in the creative process. And we act in that in our world. We act in that in our world. The same process works in our individual lives that works in the universe and the universal laws. Thought to form, idea to manifestation. Ernest Holmes is the author of the Science of Mind philosophy that we teach. And he says, whatever you believe to be true about God, declare to be true, the truth about yourself. If you believe God is all there is and is the creator of all that is, believe that that's true in your life, that you're the creator of all that is in your life. So what are some of these other billionaire assets that John DeMartini's talking about? Well, many people have great social interactions and networking contacts. Anybody have those in this room? Yeah, a lot of us do. Are you leveraging those and converting those into cash on a regular basis? I'm witnessing this in my office right now, my real estate office. My two partners are third generation Arizonans. They've grown up with everybody in town. They know everybody. They've maintained those relationships personally and professionally. And right now we're working on a transaction, and they've gone into their network and invited people to participate in an opportunity to invest in a real estate transaction. And in exchange for that, we give them a return on that investment. They're utilizing their contacts and converting those into capital, into cash. How are you utilizing your contacts? You saw these athletes, some may be professional, some not. We see models, we see bodybuilders, ballerinas. They all use their physical bodies as the asset that they convert into cash flow. What assets do you have in your billion-dollar bank that you are using to create your life? I have a friend that has a boatload of artistic talent. And several years ago, he decided that he was going to channel all that talent into photography, digital photography, and began taking a lot of pictures. And then as he was processing those, discovered some techniques for digitally enhancing them that made them very unique in the marketplace. Got very excited, built a website, filled it up with images, and then gave all of his friends the passwords to get in and look at the images, and hasn't sold one. Is he capitalizing on his billion-dollar assets, his creativity, his artistic ability, a God-given gift, right? To have that ability. How can we break through these limitations that we have and capitalize on the billions that we're sitting on? How can we do that? How can we get out of Spirit's way of good ideas? Now, this book of the month, The Values Factor by John DeMartini, is filled with lots of exercises. The one that I want to share with us today is showing us how to uncover these hidden assets that we have. And the first thing we do, Joe, would you pull that up? Is make a list. Now, I've got a handout for you, so don't panic. We make a list of these 7 areas of life, and then after each one, there's 4 lines to fill in your assets in that area of your life. What are they? And the assets that are your highest values will probably have the most ideas for you. That's just kind of the way that's going to work. If you don't have your core values yet, you might want to go back to week 1, look at that information and do those so that you can get more value out of this one. So, okay, Reverend Jill, I do this exercise. I have 28 items on my list. What am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with it? Well, what I did it this week, again, I told you I've done this book several times. And what I found was a gold mine of ideas because it stimulated my thinking to open up to, okay, looking for answers. What is under spiritual or mental? What do I have in there? What do I have in there and what can I do with it? And as I went through it, I came up with actually more than 28. And then I sat and worked with those for a while and I came up with even more. And then I got stuck on one that I thought was really a good idea. And I started playing with it for quite too long. That's how this process works. It opens us up to the flow of those ideas and that creativity to begin to expand and see what are my hidden assets and what can I get excited about? What becomes my burning desire to do something in this world, to give my gifts? What avenue am I going to give my gifts through? As you go through this, I'm going to encourage you not to edit, to just receive. Just receive, sort of like a brainstorming session. Just let it all come. Then go back and begin to go through and edit out the ones that maybe don't resonate as strongly, maybe the ones that aren't practical in the moment. But be very aware not to sabotage yourself with fear if one's too big. Because those big ones, those scary ones, those are usually the ones. Those are usually the ones that are meant for us. So look at that closely this week. I'll get you the handouts in a bit. So as I said, we've all been born with these multiple gifts and talents. But unfortunately, somewhere along the line, we've been told things like, starving artist, don't do it. Get a real job. Better go into business, that's safe. Or some other stereotypical statement of limitation that we've said yes to. What if Elton John would have said yes to that? Oh yeah, I can't play the piano. I better go get a job in business. We'd miss all that beautiful music, wouldn't we? What have we said no to that we should have said yes? We can quiet that inner critic. Quiet. Listen to spirit and say yes to our good. Now, I can't finish this talk without saying that wealth is not solely cash in the bank, right? We know that. Wealth is all of the things that make life worthwhile. And there's nothing wrong with keeping your assets in whatever form you want, if you want to continue to sit on them or if you want to convert them. That's the beauty of choice, isn't it? Excuse me. But I just don't want us living in frustration when we expect those assets to turn up as cash in our bank and they're not, because we're not taking action on them. Because that's not how the system works. Our lives are a reflection of our highest values. And if you don't like what you're seeing in the financial mirror of your life, it might be time to start linking up your values with this thing that I'll get around to doing that. I'll get around to hiring an advisor to help me with my finances because I don't want to learn it. I'll get around to saving. I'll get around to investing. I'll get around to signing up for that 401k they told me about in the company. I keep forgetting. I'll get around to increasing I'll get around to it. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. I'll get around to it. When we can link our values to it, we've gotten around to it. That's is the round to it because we're now linking them. Around here, we treat and we pray a lot. We also take action. Treat and move your feet. That's the other half of the equation, isn't it? Treat and move your feet. Living financially free is up to us. God doesn't make the decisions in our lives. God doesn't decide if we're going to spend $7 for a Starbucks or 75 cents for a McDonald's, probably a buck and a quarter now for McDonald's coffee. That decision is ours. Whether we save or we don't save, whether we spend or we don't spend, those are our decisions we get to make. If you're struggling financially and find that your highest values don't include money, it's time to figure out how to link them together. And that just simply means that we ask how this can benefit that. We tie them together. You heard the story of David and Goliath. This is an old story from the Bible. David was a little guy, played the lute or the harp or whatever, and he was working in the palace. And the king's armies were being beaten up pretty good by this giant named Goliath. And the king put out a request, somebody please take this giant down. He's kicking our butt. Anybody who does gets my daughter's hand in marriage. And little David steps up and says, I'll do it. David, you're not a warrior. No, but I'll do it. Well, what are you going to use? I have a slingshot. I'll do it. Okay. You see, David didn't have a value to be a warrior or a hero. David, working in the palace, had fallen in love at a distance with the princess. And so David had linked his value of love for the princess to doing whatever it takes, this terrifying thing of taking on this giant, for his love for the princess. That was his value. He had linked this duty, this opportunity, this thing he had to do to that. And he took out the giant. He married the princess. That's the power of linking our values to the things we just don't want to do, or the things we don't enjoy doing. When we can link them to what we really want, what gets us out of bed in the morning. Does that make sense? DeMartini says, if you have a burning desire to do something and it is the highest value in your life, nobody will have to motivate you. You will just automatically come up with the creative ways of doing it. When the why is big enough, the hows take care of themselves. And when you link the things that are not your favorite things to do to that, that motivation pulls you forward. David's why was big enough. That's the linking of our values to our wealth and doing superhuman things in our own lives. I want to close this morning with a simple thought exercise. You want to play a little bit? Okay. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable. Take a nice breath. Relax. It's Reverend Jill. I wanted to share with you that I just won the $1 billion Powerball lottery jackpot. I am giving you $10 million to each one of you, free and clear. No strings, no questions. What are the first 5 things you're going to do? You can open your eyes. Notice your thoughts. What did you do? Did you save? Did you spend? Did you share? Did you do something else? Did you resist? There must be a catch. What were your thoughts? DeMartini suggests that our answers tell us if we're a consumer or a saver and can help lead us to understand the difference between having money to spend and being financially free. Did the 10 million mean freedom? And if it did, why? I did this exercise at home also. And the second thing on my list, I got stuck and went off on a tangent to create the whole business plan for it because it was so exciting. And I stopped and I thought, gosh, is that really what I would do? And as I thought through it, I thought, you know, obviously I'm going to take care of all the stuff, right? You're going to pay off any debt and car and house and all that stuff. That's just no brainer. What would I do with that much money? You know, you spend this much and you're out of all of it. Now what? And for me, that's where the question got to be was, how much is enough? How much is enough? And what do I do with so much excess? What good can I give the world through that much? Wow. That's where it took me. I hope it took you someplace there too. I hope it took you there too. I want us to take away a sense of self-knowingness about our relationship, about money, abundance, and prosperity. Because this message, this idea really brings together the idea of our values and living those. The idea that we live in circulation. It's a law of the universe. We see it everywhere, whether we are buying groceries, paying for our power, or exchanging our services for a paycheck. We live in that circulation. We live in this world of effects where money is the exchange we have selected. It's not a bad thing to talk about. It is God in action. So making peace with all of that and understanding the power that we have in our own minds. I mean, we saw these athletes in that song, that video, the power of the human spirit, the power of the human body and mind to do that. You know, there's a lot of mental and that physical stuff we saw, wasn't there? To do all of that. So all of this is interconnected. It's all interconnected. We live in the law of circulation, and there's no reason we should not be receiving our good if we're living by the law. So, Mindful Monday is the newsletter we send out on Monday mornings. That's a recap of this talk. And it is, I'll do with the rest of those. I'll go there. It has a recap of the talk and the practices and things that we talk about. You can sign up in the lobby, QR code, send us an email, and receive those. And your spiritual practices this week are: define what living financially free means to you. How much is enough? When would you feel free? What would that freedom mean to you? How would your life be differently? Do the hidden assets worksheet and write down at least 100 ideas. At least 100 ideas. Just let it flow. See how many more than that you can come up with. Because Spirit's always giving. Are you receiving? And the third is to link at least one thing you should do but don't do to one of your core values. Use the practice to link at least one thing that you should do but don't to one of your core values this week. All right. So it is. It's your turn. What's on your heart and mind about aligning your values with your money? Anybody still uncomfortable? Your hands stop sweating? You're okay now? All right. Anybody? Did you have one, Mike?
you.
Okay.
Seems like when I come here,
Mhm.
it makes my mind turn a lot. And
Sorry.
today, you know, I'm not one of those people that's financial secure, and I like to spend. I like to do things for my family. I would give everything to everyone before I put it in the bank. And unfortunately, that there's some good with it, but I'm not taking that initial step, the big step that I need to take.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. And sometimes we want to give it all away when really if we invested it and it grew, look how much more we could do. And that's a link. That's one of the ways that we link that. I want to give money away, but I'm going to give a finite amount, but if I invest, I can give more and leave a legacy for even more behind me to keep coming. Exactly. That's the other part. That's the other part.
Also heard you can't teach an old person new tricks.
Is that true?
No, it's not totally true, but in my mind, yeah, there is something.
Yeah. Well,
So I don't want.
and you're here, which is a new deal for you. So there you go. You can learn new. Who is that? Yes.
Just wondering what the point of the story was about the person who had the artistic photographs
Uh-huh.
and they built the website and they put it up and they gave the password to everybody, but nothing happened.
That's it.
I don't understand that.
That basically the idea was there, the talent is there, the idea is there, and half of the action was there, but it didn't go forward because it wasn't released to the whole world. It wasn't promoted. It wasn't marketed. His idea of the Outcasters saying, this great idea, here's the business plan, here's the website, and never inviting anybody to come and learn improv. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes. Hi. We've got an online audience. They want to hear you.
Hi, my name is Susan. My first time here.
Welcome.
I moved here from Chicago, and I got a job. I do interior design, and I worked for a firm. This is when the crash was happening in 2010. It was $15,000, and she said, if I give you the full month, I'll have to close my doors. Here's $3,000. I have to let you go. So I didn't know anyone here. I moved here from Chicago. I didn't know anyone here, and I could not get work. I couldn't get work. So I ended up selling soap at Costco, and then I was selling vitamins. Your wagon is dragging. CoQ10. Anyways, actually, I did really well.
I was going to say, you did that really well.
Anyways, so I knew, and I had been a single mother, and I had been in welfare at one point in my life, just struggling. And I thought, I can't leave Chicago and keep this. I just can't keep this. So I knew I had to change my thinking. So I got on YouTube, and I had not really used YouTube before. And there was this Australian woman who was singing, I'm a money magnet, money loves me. And I was like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. So I just started playing it all the time. It was just, and I was getting ready to sell. I'd wear like a hairnet and a baseball cap and blue plastic gloves. All this stuff. Getting ready for this job that I hated to go to, selling CoQ10. And I would just sing the song, and I would just start laughing. And then I found a Motown one that was like, money's coming to me. Oh yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm with a brother. So anyways,
Steady.
what finally happened was a client I had worked for almost a year later. I had worked for, they were pregnant, and I'd said, I have to leave, and if you need any help getting the furniture, let me know. I gave her a baby blanket because she was pregnant. I said, I just wish you luck. They called me out of the blue and bought a 6,500 square foot home. And I worked on it for a year and a half. And the last check I got, I bought a house for $10,000. So it was kind of extraordinary. Only right now I'm broke again. So I have been very negative mindset, and so that's kind of why I got out here today. But I've been overdue in doing this, and it actually, I just knew I had to train my thinking because my thinking was like, oh my god, and I knew I had to train it. So all I got from this was it was time, not all I got, but in addition to what I got, it's just time to get back to, because I knew it couldn't just be words, but music gets through to me in ways that words didn't. So by having the music with it, I I changed my thinking. Anyways, that's all I got. Thank you.
I almost had that as our next song. Money is coming to me easily and effortlessly. Money is coming to me. Karen Drucker and Eddie
Well,
Watkins.
I have a financial issue right now, and I've shared that with you that I'm struggling with. And my whole comeback thing is, I'm too old for this.
Mhm.
I'm 77. How can what can I do? So I know that's not the whole answer, but that's what I'm struggling with. Is I don't want that to be the answer I have.
Mhm. And I think a lot of us in this room are of an age, and we have that idea. I'm too old to start something new. I might have these assets, but I don't want to do it. And that's a choice. But we can also choose. How many people have started new stuff in their later years? Wasn't Mother Teresa like really old when she started her thing? And yeah, Colonel Sanders. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of examples out there, and it's just a matter of the idea and saying yes, and off we go. And like this, your example of money is coming to me and life turned around and unfolded out of the blue. I love those words. Those are my favorite words for spirit, is out of the blue. We just don't know where it's going to come from. But I know it's going to come, and you know it's going to come, and that's what counts. So y'all will know what it'll come to. We all know it. We got you, girl. Okay. Spirit's time. Anyone else? Thank you for sharing. All right. Good stuff. Would you like to pray? Okay. I would. So, as we go within, we recognize that there is one power, one presence, one life. That power, that presence, that life is God. It is the infinite source of all that is. It is the infinite creator. It is the source of all ideas, out of which comes all form. And I know all of that is here now present, in, through, and as me, in, through, and as this room, and in, through, and as each and every one of us here right now, each person that's online, and each and every person that listens to this later. For we are connected in that oneness and wholeness of spirit. There is no separation. There is not God in anything else. There is simply God. And we are in, through, and as it is in, through, and as us. And we express spirit as our lives each and every day, each and every moment, each and every breath. We are one, we are connected. And so from this place of unity and wholeness, I speak my word, knowing that each of us is filled with so many gifts and talents, and that new and creative ideas flow to and through us constantly. Some we're aware of, some we are not, some we accept, some we say no. But there's a constant stream flowing to and through us. And I know that we receive and take action on the perfect right ones for us in this moment, for the betterment of the world. But that's how life moves, is through us into expression, in the service of others, giving those talents and those skills and converting them into that lovely exchange, whether it's barter, whether it's cash, whether it's some other form of assets. We give our service, we give of ourselves, and we receive. That's the law of circulation of our lives. And I know that each of us expresses those skills and talents to the very, very best of our ability. I know for anyone that has anything on their heart this day, as they lift it into this prayer, that we as a community surround them in our love and our light. And then we know that whatever it is, God's got this. For there is a divine order and action in the universe, and it flows to and through all of its creation, and simply says yes. And so I'm filled with gratitude, joy, and thanksgiving as I release this prayer into the action of law, knowing that it's already done. There's nothing else for me to do other than to just say yes and accept it and release it and let it be. And we affirm that truth together by saying, and so it is.